allegations. Joining me now is media law expert Ian Bloom. Ian, welcome. I mean, what do you make of the allegations that have come forward so far?
Well, I understand and agree with everything Jess has said. I think that the ladies involved have been approached by a reputable newspaper and television production company and have, after quite an extensive period, disclosed their stories. And for the reasons Jess has given, they didn't go to the police at the time. They've spoken to the journalists. Their evidence seems to me to be cogent, persuasive, and the newspapers have dealt with it in a sort of forensic way. They're credible witnesses. Now, the gulf between talking to a newspaper journalist and then going to the police, for all the reasons Jess has said, is huge. Do they actually want to do that? And then you think about the police. Well, to some extent, they're hamstrung until someone comes up and says, look, I've been assaulted, I've been raped, whatever, and this is my story, this is the evidence. And until and unless someone does that, although the police are entitled to investigate without a complainant, it's difficult to do so, because the logic is the police investigate, they find a prima facie case, they go to the CPS and say, we've got this evidence, and the CPS say, fine, who are we going to put in the witness box to prove the charge? And the police say, well, the witnesses won't come forward. They don't want to do it. And we can see what happened with the footballers recently, the Ryan Giggses, the Mason Greenwoods, the Benjamin Mendes. These people were accused of similar offences. It took years, and some of the women couldn't go through with it. It's very difficult for them, and therefore it's difficult for the police and the CPS to mount criminal charges.
And Ian, what about the wider implications for the media here? I mean, there's a big fallout to this. And every time there is a story such as, it's not as if this is the first time. You've just mentioned some high-profile cases. There have been many others. You tend to think, well, this will be the last time, because now everyone's on board with what you're meant to do, whether men, women, bosses, the hierarchy, those that work in lower areas of the industry. Everybody knows if something iffy is going on, you've got to tell someone, you've got to talk about it. You fast forward, there's another big case. These are allegations. Of course, he denies everything. But what does it mean for the wider media, do you think, becoming a sort of an issue where this naturally will perhaps, flush out other names maybe?
It may well do. We've seen even this year, the Philip Schofield case, Hugh Edwards case. Now we've got Russell Brand. There are undoubtedly others that are, and it's almost always men, that are men in power who take advantage of staff or people associated with the programs that they're making. If I say it's human nature, it sounds trite, but it's gone on for decades. I have no doubt it will continue to go on. The danger is that the internet now can expose them more quickly and in a different way than it could 20, 30, 40 years ago.
But is that, Ian, is that a good thing? I mean, there is that risk of trial by media. I mean, if you look at, I appreciate the likes of Twitter or X, these are kind of the Wild West, or the dens of iniquity, the cesspits of modern debate, if you like, and you look at whether it's people who are pro-brand or anti-brand, you look at the wild theories, the kind of things that are being said, the comments about victims in all of this, which is horrific. The entire spectrum of trial by media may well be, perhaps, which I think is the point you're making, it could be helpful to bring out other people who are victims. But the other side of that, of course, is that we end up kind of diluting what law is really all about, and simply having the villagers carrying their pitchforks and gunning for whoever happens to be the target.
Yeah, the Salem witch trials come back. The rule of law requires systems, procedures, processes. Jess touched on the sheer time it takes for cases to start and to conclude. Well, we're in an impatient society. People haven't got the time. The judgment, I remember in the Hugh Edwards case just a few months ago, there was a daily focus on who is the presenter and who is the victim. People want instant gratification. They want instant answers. You can't get them in a mature justice system. The processes can take years, and you're stuck with it. So the next best and often the worst alternative is trial by internet, trial by Twitter. It's deeply unsatisfactory, but I'm not sure how to cure that.
Ian, thank you for your time. Media expert Ian Bloom with us here on First Edition.